should be stronger as a priority. I may say here that we understand that the decision about NATO or any other format should depend on the allies of NATO, but definitely any allies, but definitely not on the wish of Russia, on their vision, moreover, their veto of Russia against NATO, because they don't have, as I consider, they don't have any legal power, and we shouldn't give them the right to have such an opportunity, according to my opinion. In any case, everybody is considering for allies' security guarantees. As for the weapons, the army shouldn't be decreased. Strengthening of Ukrainian troops as the security guarantor of Ukraine for today and for the future, guarantor of security for the whole European continent. Everybody is interested in strong, not decreased army. The partners who we are communicating with are interested in that. And we can see that I think it's a positive signal. As of the keeping with such an army and strengthening, everybody understands that it's an obligation of all of us, and that Ukraine is not capable to do it on its own, because this is a very substantial financial load. Secondly, besides the army, everybody understands that we need to be strengthened, that you need to take Ukrainian technologies and invest the money into our manufacturing, but also after the war, open certain manufacturing utilities with our technologies, or together with the technologies of our partners. Such manufacturing utilities should be open on the territory of other countries' allies. Everybody understands that with today's speed, Ukraine can be strengthened, as well as Europe can be strengthened in 5 years. We consider that it's a very long period of time, and we think it's dangerous. During the war, we showed that it can be done quicker. The partners agree with us that it can be done in 3 years. But everybody needs to move on really quickly, to strengthen really substantially, to increase the manufacturing in all of the countries which are allies, to provide real security guarantees for the whole Europe. Ukrinform. Mr. President, good day. Could you please tell, we see from Russia some of the statements which witness that it is trying to prolong the process, to make it longer, and not to agree to the 30-day ceasefire, which was the deal in Jeddah. So what do you think? Is it realistic to achieve ceasefire? Or Russia will delay and prolong this process not to achieve it? Well, they want a stronger position, I'm sure, before the ceasefire. Now it doesn't look, at least doesn't look serious. After the offers, after what they never were considering for, that we would find allies' decision in Jeddah. And they understand that they need to respond. So now they will tell either about control or anything else. But undoubtedly, I already said that if we only spoke about the ceasefire on the sea, they would say, why on the sea? If it should be ceasefire, it should be everywhere. If we said on the sea and in the skies, they would say, well, in the skies, they are only considering for the security of their energy system. So we decreased, narrowed down these opportunities for just beautiful words of Putin and his surrounding, who really don't want the end of the war. I think that we narrowed down this corridor, and we are ready for unconditional ceasefire for 30 days, which was offered by the American side. And that is why, if Russians disagree with that, they then disagree not with our offer, but they disagree specifically with the offer of President Trump. Because all of our developments have formulated, in the end of the day, were formulated by the Americans. And that is their specific position. And they, the team which used to be in the negotiations in Saudi Arabia, are the representatives of the position of President Trump. And that is why it's Putin who disagrees today with what was offered by Trump for Ukraine and Russia. And I consider that it is just, they try to find the position not to achieve the end of the war. Today, several partners, lots of them honestly said, as for ceasefire, the most important for us and the United States, not to agree with but of Russia's. Ceasefire shouldn't go on with their but. Because this is the ceasefire for 30 days. It's not eternity. It's ceasefire, a silence of 30 days, when all of the sides have an opportunity to show the speed and wish to end the war. Or, vice versa, the opposite. Мы Ukraina. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for the opportunity. The first question. Just yesterday, President Trump mentioned that on the 17th of March, we'll understand the answer of Russians on ceasefire, and on the 17th of March, he will announce something. Should we look at this date, or do you plan your negotiations, I mean the Ukrainian track, with the US? And next week, the negotiations group already announced that they can start talking about the monitoring of ceasefire mode. So, did you plan such meeting, and how do you see the opportunity of such monitoring if Russia agrees? Because it seems that they say no, and moreover they have their own claims. Thank you. Well, monitoring can be coordinated. I'm sure the Americans, together with the European partners and together with our forces, can do that. I think that the prolonging, the delays in the process are taking place because what I already described. They would like to improve their own situation at the battlefield. Another point, on the 17th, well, if I would connect something to this date, I would drive attention to, well, I don't know when the conversation takes place, but I would look at the 17th of March of last year. What used to take place on the 17th of March last year? That's interesting, right? Interesting. I would drive your attention, if we are not mistaken, onto the International Criminal Court. What did it do on the 17th of March last year? Oh, the year before the last. Microphone, please. So I would drive your attention to that. What's this date? What does it mean? So that's why I think maybe in these or those conversations there is the opportunity to take place between the United States and Russia on Monday. Maybe. I don't know if it is real. What about the continuation of the dialogue of groups? The groups, well, we made a deal, how we can see it. As far as I understand, there is the representative of the United States who met with Russians, and I think that they discussed something, coordinated some of the positions. We'll see. We'll see what will take place later. I think that soon we'll have coordination with the United States on the following steps. We are really expecting, if the Russians disagree with the proposal of President Trump, we believe that the position of President Trump will be specific, harsh, straightforward about Putin. The lady in the end, could you remind me where you are from? Microphone, please. Mr. President, good day. We almost don't know anything about the meeting of Stephen Witkoff with the Russian dictator Putin. We only know that Putin kept him for 8 hours before receiving him. Does the Ukrainian power know anything about the negotiations of Americans and Russians? And which red lines exist for Ukraine in the issue of future potential truce? So speaking about any future steps, we would like to focus on how we have to make a deal about that. We constantly advise all of the partners not to change their deals, and we would like to stand on our deals. We had to show that we would like peace and Russians want the war. I think that one meeting showed all of that already. A constructive, positive, and I'm again grateful to the Americans and Ukrainians for such a meeting. Another point is what used to take place in Moscow. I understand. Well, we can't know for sure what these people were discussing, but we understand that there will be many buts or arguments to put Ukraine in the weaker position. And it's very important to look at the position of the United States. If ceasefire should be full, then without any conditions. The position of all of them has to be specific, transparent, truthful, without losing dignity of both parties, in my opinion. As for people discussing different issues, and not only of Ukraine, well, that's the question to them, to their societies and their leaders. That's definitely not about us. We are speaking about the first step in the format, how it is discussed. That's it. You, please. Good day, Mr. President. Mikhailo Gluchovsky, Glavkom. Last time when we met, you said that the red line for Ukraine is territory. We are not giving away anything. We comply with the Constitution, but the Trump administration said that the territories were discussed. Could you tell more details about which territories the delegations were speaking about? Thank you. Yesterday, I had off-rec with the journalists, and I already said about that. I wouldn't like to delve deeper into details and repeat myself. I understand it's important. Our position that we will never acknowledge the occupied Ukrainian territories as Russian under any conditions. And I instantly say that it's a very acute issue, understanding our position. And Russians really need that exactly. Where stubborn Ukrainians are doing, that's the thing which will hit in different formats, in different conversations, including the conversations with the US. The United States of America raised this question at the meeting in Jeddah. They got what Ukrainian position is. That's just what I just said. They also explained there are certain details which are hard to be explained just in words. We need to show on the map, as yesterday I told the journalists, for instance, when the city is just bisected to the right and the left sides, two banks of the river, of the Dnieper River, for instance, the city cannot live on the one side of the city and to have an enemy on the other side of the city. Then it means that the city is under occupation. It cannot live like that. So such points have to be detailized for our partners. If they know even about that, they don't know some of the details. We need to speak about that, and then the people understand how to bring life back, not just on paper. It's not paper life, it's real life. People need to live, to have opportunities, to have secure city and their own city. So it can't be a frozen conflict. There can't be a frozen conflict in the cities, in the villages. You see what I mean? So some of the issues like that are raised about the water supply. Yesterday I named an example for the journalists about our nuclear power plant. The nuclear power plant, how it will be functioning, they need water supply, they don't have water there. If you remember, they exploded the dam. So there are lots of questions. It's not just the nuclear power plant and the Ukrainian power can get the plant. But what's close to the plant? There is the city where people are living. Where is the city? How can it be under the control of Russians? And where is the water? Who will be managing these processes? There are many complicated things. That is why again I emphasize that the issue of territories, just like this, is very hard to connect with the first step. I wouldn't advise you to do that. It's delaying the process into a very long way, because the issue of territories is a complicated one. It has to be solved later. At the table of negotiations, there should be red lines mentioned instantly, and if the American and Russian sides are speaking about such topics, let them speak. Honestly speaking, I think it's their right. But Putin provides additional conditions. We heard about that. Did the American side provide any additional conditions, including territories issues? No. At the meeting in Saudi Arabia, there were no additional conditions, because everybody is really, humanely, were happy that, first of all, that we were together. Two countries were together. I think that it's a very substantial step forward. Secondly, that Ukraine had to conduct such a serious diplomatic step, a very substantial one. And everybody was very happy about that as well. But I don't want to be kind of a granny who says the same, but Putin doesn't want it. Let America force Putin to make this first step, and then we'll discuss all the rest of the steps. Please, Kyoto, and then Novina Live.
Are there still stockpiles Patriot missiles from America? It is reported today that the SAMPT missiles are almost out of stock. Is this true? If so, will Italy or France provide it Ukraine? Thank you.
As for the missiles of SAMPT, let me say the following. It never happened. There was never a situation when they were enough. This is the question about the systems. We are grateful to Italy, we are grateful to France, and it really depended on these two countries. We are grateful to them because they gave what they had in their arsenal. And those are complicated systems. They are good. Well, we can't say that they are similar or analog of Patriot. They are cool. They are hitting down, but not everything what Patriot can do. That's true. But we are grateful for such systems. I wouldn't like to speak about the region specifically, but they used to help and they are still helping. There is one issue with this system, or with these systems, a huge deficit, a lack of missiles, and it was forever. I don't want to say how many missiles we have, what's with them. It's a permanent issue, a permanent one. But I don't want Italy or France to be offended, because they provided these systems to us and the missiles as well. There are some types of weapons. Let me tell you what the war told us. The war told us and taught us many things. One of the points, when you can take a license from the partner, you should do that, and we can then produce quicker. I did not get any licenses. I really wanted to. That was so important for me. Patriots, SAMPT, Hawks. Though the Hawks, many countries and even gave us the systems because they don't use them. are not new, but they are functioning, they're working. In some of our cities, especially the energy infrastructure, those systems are working, and we took them because we understood where exactly we can find the missiles, because Hawk missiles are all over the world. And as for SAMP-T, it's a complication, it's harder, it's really an issue, and replacement of SAMP-T could be Patriots, because it's approximately the same class of weapons. So this is the story about the air defense and the licenses. As soon the countries are able to give us licenses, and it is hard for them as well, because SAMP-T, it's not just, well, let me look at the example with Germany, with IRIS-T system. We can make a deal with them because they fully produce those systems. They manufacture those systems on their own. Then we can make a deal and consider and rely upon this or that monthly number for IRIS-T. That is why our military can specifically calculate how many missiles of IRIS-T they have. They shouldn't be for sure in the stocks, in the warehouses. No, we have the constant figure, the number of these missiles monthly. As for D2 system, so 3, there are systems which depend on 4 countries even, on 4 countries, and their political will to give us the licenses. We are developing this sphere. We are moving on. Thank you. Yes, please, Novina Live. Thank you for such an opportunity, Novina Live. I have the question about the truce or ceasefire. How long, according to your vision or feelings, can the process of this truce can go on? Who can sign it from our side? And what's the most important, what will happen if the ceasefire doesn't happen? What's plan B? The mode of ceasefire, it's not truce, it's ceasefire, I would say. Or the mode of silence. In English, first, we had 2 formats, ceasefire or truce, right? When we spoke about truce on air, on the sea, it meant truce. This is the same, ceasefire or truce, that's what we are speaking about. This mode of ceasefire or silence or truce is the mode which, as you know, there is an offer for 30 days now. It's hard for me to say what will take place later, because this is the period of time during which we need to produce a deal about the following steps. That's it, in fact. There is nothing to add here. And honestly, I think that if it is very hard, and maybe it will be hard, but if there is the first step done, I think, well, I don't know. I can't be for sure that 30 days are enough for that. I think that from our side it will be enough. But when we have 3 parties, 3 sides, and we'll do everything to have not 3 but 4 sides, to be Europe to be included as well, and I would like us to be supported by the partners, it's important for us. Because let's be honest, who will fund the support of Ukraine? Who will help in funding of our army? And where will Ukraine be in the security guarantees and its economic component of this guarantees? That depends on European Union. The help is Europe. I mean financial support of the army and the recovery of Ukraine. The whole world wants that, and maybe the whole world will do that, but we rely upon, first and foremost, upon Europe and America. And that is why I think that who we are relying upon, those have to be the subjects of the deal. Europe, the United States, and we, the ones who are at war, Ukraine and Russians. That's what I think. And then maybe not 30 days, maybe a bit longer will be needed. But still, it's very important to have this or that period of time in this truce deal, or maybe ceasefire deal, then it will decrease some of the capacities of Russians to play into this eternal frozen conflict. If Russia violates it, microphone please, and it's done like that for multiple times already, then we will go on protecting our motherland in spite of whatever Putin wants. Dear colleagues, a couple more questions and we need to end. Your question, and then, yes, and then AP, you will be the last, and that's it. Good day, Radio Svoboda. I would like to ask you the following. In 2019, during the pre-electoral campaign, you used to say that the people who are accused in corruption cases will not leave the court with the bail. How did it happen that 5 years after that, later, the current head of Anti-Monopoly Committee, who has the cases in National Anti-Corruption Bureau and SAP, and you appointed him personally, Pavlo Kyrylenko, leaves the court under bail, and still he is in the position as the head of Anti-Monopoly Committee? Thank you. Thank you. First of all, I would like to tell you that in the whole world, people are being accused and have the right to be protected in the court. Ukraine is not an exclusion. Or you would like to make Russia out of Ukraine when people cannot protect themselves, when people are accused and they don't have the opportunity to protect themselves. That is why I do not appoint the courts and I do not fire. So, honestly speaking, it seems to me if there is a criminal case, let there be an indictment, let that be the verdict of the court, and the person should be responsible for that. AP, please, the last question.
Thank you very much. So just going back to the discussions you're having with your European allies about potential security guarantees, obviously a big question we have is, you know, let's say this arrangement occurs, Russia mounts an offensive, how will they respond? How will they protect Ukraine? At this point in the talks, can you, and the discussions you're having, can you enlighten us if there are details of what the response could be? Could it be a direct strike on Russian assets, for example? Could it be something else? Is there any detail coming out of that aspect?
Sorry, no, there are no details.